and wildlife related things. And over the years, I've been able to kind of, I think, help a lot of people find the assistance that they need. So today we're going to go over some of the most common tree and wildlife related assistance that people request. I'm going to highlight a number of different agencies and organizations that provide those services. And then I'll go through a variety of different scenarios of where you might need some assistance and which of these groups can do that for you. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation with you all then. Let's see, yeah, real quick, there's my boys, and here's my presentation. All right, so today I really want to get into this forestry and wildlife or tree assistance that's available here in the state of Kentucky. And again, there's a lot of it. And the key to most of this is really finding the right resources. And so let's talk about that a little bit. When I talk to woodland owners and landowners here in the state of Kentucky, they are often surprised about the wide variety of assistance that's available for them out there. And I hope after today's presentation, you'll have a much better handle on who can help you address a variety of different issues. Some of the groups I'm going to be talking about today work specifically with homeowners, some work with woodland owners, and some work with both, depending on the needs of that. So we'll try to help kind of navigate which group you should be reaching out to, depending on your category and what you're trying to get accomplished. Many of the services that I'm going to be talking about today are free. Free in the sense that they have been supported by your tax dollars. So thank you, keep paying your taxes. But some of them also come as with a charge, and those may be from private vendors that provide some of these services. One thing that a lot of people are surprised to learn is that there is some financial support available for certain conservation related practices. So if you're trying to care for your woodlands or your property and you're having some natural resource issues, maybe invasive plants or erosion or other things, there very well may be some financial assistance to help you address those challenges. But again, like I mentioned at the beginning, the key is really finding the right assistance at the right time. So I'm hoping that this presentation will give you a better sense of who you can contact to get assistance related to tree and wildlife related issues. All right, so I'm going to go over a number of different organizations that are available and out there, and this slide really is just kind of an introduction to the groups that are there, and then I'll do a kind of a deep dive into each of these organizations, and then we'll present a number of scenarios if you needed assistance and which of these groups can help and what they can do as far as providing that assistance. So on each of these, you'll see I've kind of put in all caps kind of the shortcut nickname for the groups that I'm talking about. So when you see extension later on in the presentation, really what I'm talking about is the entire cooperative extension service system. And for those that may not be familiar, the University of Kentucky is a land grant institution. And what that means is that we have three primary missions. One is research, one is instruction, and that third, or the tri-leg, if we call it, is really that land grant mission. And that's the service mission. And that's what we do through the Cooperative Extension Service. We extend the knowledge that's gathered at the universities, not only here at the University of Kentucky, but other universities, and we put it into packages and to content that is consumable and usable by folks outside of the university. So we're really trying to extend the university to all the people of Kentucky. So that's what the Cooperative Extension Service does, and we do it in a number of different ways. Most prominently, we have in every county in Kentucky a county extension office. And this is an amazing asset to those counties and to the state of Kentucky. So these are people that I hope you'll get to know if you don't know already, because they provide so many resources and services to landowners and really just the general public here in Kentucky. So it's a great group, and we'll talk about them more. But in addition to those county extension offices, there's these agents that are out there, and we have a variety of different agents that do different things, and we'll talk about them. But in addition, there's like state extension specialists, like Dr. Ellen Crocker, who came on at the beginning. She is one of our state extension specialists. I serve in that kind of extension specialist role as well. And so, but each of our different commodities here at the university or that we deal with has its specialists in it. So we have horticultural specialists, we have entomology specialists, we have animal sciences specialists, plant specialists. So depending on the needs, there's typically some type of support, some experts on campus that can kind of support our county extension offices and the general public. The next group I want to talk about is the Kentucky Division of Forestry. This is a state agency, and they provide assistance to woodland owners here in the state, but they also serve more than just woodland owners, and we'll talk about some of those things that they do as well. Next, I'll talk about consulting foresters. These are private business folks that work on behalf of the people that hire them, and they are really kind of experts when it comes to selling timber, appraising timber, if you have timber trespass issues, but they also can provide a full range of forestry practices as well. The next group I'll mention briefly, if some of you all may be interested in a timber harvest at some point, is the Kentucky Master Loggers. And we'll talk about what they are and what they're not as well. And then one that's probably going to be of most interest to this group would be the certified arborists. These are people that have been trained in arboriculture, and they have received a certification by taking an exam. They study for it and they take an exam for it. It is a certification that I held at one point, but I no longer have maintained my continuing education credits to keep that up and current, which is part of it. You have to stay current in the field. So those are folks that can come out really and address a wide variety of specific tree-related issues on your property. And for many instances, for homeowners and stuff, arborists are going to be kind of a go-to entity for kind of tree support. And then from a wildlife standpoint, we have the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources, and they provide a vast variety of services and programs and opportunities for people that have issues with wildlife, whether you're interested in attracting wildlife to your property, or if you're having a problem with nuisance wildlife or other issues, this is the entity that you would want to work with to try to address those issues. Then we also have the Natural Resources Conservation Service. This is a federal agency that is part of the United States Department of Agriculture, and they have service centers spread out across Kentucky that serves each of our counties. So regardless of where you're at, there is a service center that serves your county, and they provide a great variety of services, including technical and financial assistance, and we'll talk more about that as we get into them. And then, of course, there are these many other groups out there, such as the Kentucky Woodland Owners Association, Tree Farm Program, Wild Turkey Federation, Rough Grouse Society, and many, many other kind of local and more regional entities that do provide some programs and services to support tree and wildlife assistance here in Kentucky. And, you know, it's just going to vary a little bit. Some of these have different programs, but we don't really have enough time to go into each one of these. But I just want to make you aware that these are not all the places where you can get kind of forestry and wildlife assistance in the state of Kentucky. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Cooperative Extension Service. When I started my career after I graduated from UK with my master's in forestry, I started out as a county extension agent up in Northeast Kentucky in Elliott County, a very small county, but a very beautiful county with a lot of great people in it. And I got a real great appreciation for what the Cooperative Extension Service does. And really what they're trying to do is improve the lives of those people that they serve in their counties. They help their clients in so many ways. And the great thing about it is they bring unbiased, research-based information so that people can make educated and informed decisions on making good practices on their property. And they work in a variety of fields. So each of our county extension offices, which we have one in every county in Kentucky, so that's 120 offices out there, they have a variety of agents and support staff that are on those. Ones that you'll probably work most with from a tree and wildlife standpoint would be the Agriculture and Natural Resources agents and the horticulture agents. But the others, family and consumer science agencies and 4-H youth development, certainly interact with those as well. But typically, if you're dealing with kind of a tree issue, it's going to probably be your Agriculture and Natural Resources or your horticulture agents are going to have the most expertise in that. So there's a quick little URL so you can find the agents in your county and reach out to them. Again, it's a great group, and it's really driven by what the people in that county want to see. So if you want to see different programming from the extension office in your county, then you need to be active and be a part of that conversation. And there's many opportunities for you to serve as an advisory or leadership roles within those counties. The agents and the offices are always looking for interested individuals from their counties that really care about their county or are trying to make it better. And they use those connections to help develop programs and address specific topics on an annual and ongoing basis. So please get involved with them. It's a great opportunity. The other thing I wanted to mention, in addition to the University of Kentucky and our Cooperative Extension Service, we are also a sister agency with the Kentucky State University. So out of Frankfort, they have a wide variety of programs that they offer, and many of the programs they offer are very complementary to some of the things that we offer here out of UK. They have a lot of expertise in small-scale farming issues. They also they have a nationally recognized pawpaw program. So if you like pawpaws, which is a native tree that we have here, but puts out a delicious fruit, they have a lot of research on that. They also have a lot of research on honeybees and honeybee management, and a lot of horticulture stuff. So they offer a lot of services that are very complementary to what we have here at UK. So you can find more about them at that web address as well. And then I want to kind of highlight our organization. As Ellen mentioned, here at UK, we have a Forestry and Natural Resources department. And as part of that department, we have a team that works on the extension side. So I serve in that role. I'm 100% extension. And again, my job is to kind of help educate landowners and the public about forestry and wildlife and what we can do about it, and trying to come up with educational programming to kind of move things in a positive direction. So if you haven't seen our website before, please check it out. We're at ukforestry.org. We have a tremendous number of programs and resources on there, videos, podcasts, publications, just a wide variety of stuff out there to help landowners and homeowners kind of take care of their natural resources. So please check that out when you get a chance. The next group I want to talk a little bit about is the Kentucky Division of Forestry. They are part of the Kentucky Energy and Environment Cabinet, and they provide many different services as well. But what they're really good at is meeting and discussing your objectives for your property. So if you're a woodland owner, or maybe if you only own a few acres of woods, they can come out and meet with you and discuss what you're trying to do with your property. They can inventory your property, let you know what you've got on that land. They can also let you know if you've got any kind of issues that are out there. Perhaps you've got some invasive plants or some other issues that are going on. They can help spot those for you and help develop a plan to address that. So when we're talking about caring for our woodlands, we want to start with a plan. So we want to know kind of where we're going, and where we're going is really based on the landowner's objectives. You may be interested in selling timber, so they can actually mark the timber for sale, and they can tally it and give you those volumes that you have available, which you could then use to help advertise the sale. They also provide a lot of technical assistance on general forest management and tree health and tree related stuff. So they're a great resource there. They've got a really good website as well. They also are connected to help provide some cost share assistance. There's a number of different programs out here in Kentucky that can support conservation practices on the land, and they are a group that can kind of connect you to that. They also have tree seedlings for sale, so maybe you're interested in purchasing some low-cost tree seedlings. They're currently selling them right now. You can get on their website and order tree seedlings that will be delivered in early spring. Typically in Kentucky, we do most of our tree planting in the early spring, right after the ground has thawed. They also do timber harvest inspections. So if you've had a harvest on your property and you're concerned that maybe there's some water quality or other issues, they can come out and inspect that. And they can work with loggers to try to help make sure that those practices are done in a way to minimize water quality damage. They also play a very important role in fire suppression, wildfire suppression specifically, across the state. One of their responsibilities and tasks is to try to help address wildfires here in Kentucky. So that is an important service that they do provide. So there is a link to their website. Please check that out. It's a great resource. But if you just Googled Kentucky Division of Forestry, they should come up as really your first hit. So it's a great resource. So please check them out. And there's their number if you want to just give them a direct call. All right, the next group I want to talk about was with the Kentucky Association of Consultant Foresters. Now, this is certainly kind of more apply to those folks that own more than just a tree or two in their yard, or only have a very small little parcel. They do provide a number of benefits, and as I mentioned earlier, one of their strengths and expertise is timber sales and marketing. They work on behalf of the client, much like a real estate agent does. They also do timber cruises. So if you had a question about appraisals of how much value your timber was, they can cruise it, and then they can develop an appraisal to give you kind of a fair market value estimate of that. And they also, if you unfortunately if you run into a timber trespass issue, somebody's cut trees on your property and you didn't authorize that, they can help you navigate that process to try to get some relief from that. But they also provide general timber management support. So they are obviously trained foresters. So if you're interested in kind of managing your woods and making improvements there, they can provide all of those recommendations and advice, and they've got a lot of experience in that as well. The next group I'll mention is the Kentucky Master Loggers. So the Kentucky Master Loggers is a program that was mandated by the Kentucky Forest Conservation Act that went into effect back in 2000. And really what it was all geared toward was protecting water quality. So the Master Logger program trains loggers in the care and management of, or the installation of what we call best management practices. And really these are geared primarily to address water quality issues. So we have found that most of the problems from a water quality issue related to timber harvesting is really tied to the roads and trails. So a lot of the practices that they implement are really geared toward making sure that we keep mud and debris out of the streams so that we can have a high water quality. If you're interested in finding a logger, maybe you're thinking you might have some trees that you want to have harvested, you can go to the Master Logger website, and from there you'll be able to search by county and find loggers in your area. So if you were a very enterprising landowner and you wanted to kind of handle a timber sale on your own, then you could basically do that by identifying loggers in this. But most often I would recommend that landowners, if you don't know what you've got, you don't know what it's worth, and you don't know who's going to buy it, then you might benefit from working with a consultant forester who we heard from a minute ago or talked about. And another thing to keep in mind on this, there is a list of bad actors, and this isn't related to movies or film or TV. It's related to loggers that have repeatedly done practices that have hindered water quality, or they've been found in violation of the Kentucky Forest Conservation Act. So if you find people that are on that list, they're more likely folks that you probably wouldn't want to work with going forward. Now, the group that's probably of most interest to this group here that we're dealing with today is certified arborists. So they can provide a great variety of services, really kind of tree specific. So for homeowners and others with kind of smaller parcels, this would be a group that you would want to get some really specific tree assistance with. So they can do pruning, they can do tree removal if you need to get a tree out, especially if it's in a tight situation where you've got homes or power lines or fences or other things that we call targets, that they can really help do that in a very safe way that protects those targets and reduces the likelihood of any damage occurring. Also, like if you run into a maybe a lightning storm or something else and it causes some tree damage, they can come out and help at least try to remedy that situation or put in some mechanisms or things in place to kind of help those trees get through that kind of emergency situation. They can also offer advice on planting, and they can actually plant trees for you as well. And generally just plant healthcare. You know, a lot, if we can take good care of our trees going forward and not let them get impacted by stressors or get hit by weed eaters and lawnmowers and other things, a lot of times trees will be okay, but they can kind of really focus on a general overall plant healthcare plan for you and the trees on your property. And they also offer a wide variety of other services. They can offer expertise on tree appraisals, how much is that tree worth, what are its contributions to the property value. They can also help you negotiate some legal things as well. One thing they will recommend, and we generally recommend, is we don't like to see trees that look like this. This is a common practice that we see not only here in Kentucky, but really across the country. It's called tree topping. It's basically, there's concern that tree may, some of the branches or other things may fall on the house. So people think, well, we'll just cut all the branches back. But what we found that is extremely harmful to the tree, and it really shortens the life of the tree and actually ends up creating a lot more problems. You're much better off if that tree is the wrong tree for that site. You're much better to remove that tree and plant the appropriate tree in that site. Now, I know that may seem drastic, but this tree topping is just going to end up causing you more problems down the road. And if you're really trying to kill your tree, this is really one of the quickest ways you can go about it. So we recommend that you do not do tree topping. Now, from a wildlife standpoint, really the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources is the go-to agency, and they provide services not only for individuals, but really a lot. They have private lands biologists that can come out and meet with you. So if you're a landowner and you own 25 acres or more, unfortunately they do have a 25-acre minimum. A private lands biologist can come out and meet with you and talk about things that you can do on your property that would be attractive for wildlife, and they can also help if you're having some issues with wildlife as well, kind of things that you can do to kind of mitigate some of those problems. They also have a wide variety of what we call habitat how-tos. So if you're trying to implement practices related to wildlife, they've got these nice little fact sheets. They're like 1 to 4 pages, and they all deal with a variety of different practices that you can do on your property that are really geared to try to support wildlife and wildlife habitat. Also, if you have a pond or interested in the pond on your property, they have fisheries biologists and others that can kind of help you with pond management issues, including stocking and vegetation control in those ponds. So they've got expertise in that. And another thing that may be probably most important for this group, if you're dealing with nuisance wildlife, they have resources for finding nuisance wildlife, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But they got a nice directory. You can just type in your county and you type in the species you're dealing with, and it'll provide a list of basically private vendors that can provide those services for you. The other group I talked about earlier is a really important one and does a lot for landowners here in the state of Kentucky, is the Kentucky Natural Resources Conservation Service. Again, this is a federal agency that has service centers that serve all the counties in Kentucky. And this is an important agency in that they provide a lot of technical assistance, and it's really geared to really conserving our natural resources. So any issues that deal with soil or water or other forests or other natural resources, that is kind of in their wheelhouse, and they help address those issues by delivering technical assistance, and that technical assistance really grounded in good science, but it's also a good match of good science with what the issue is on the ground and what the landowner's specific needs are. So they bring those things together. They can also offer cost share and financial assistance to help you do some of these practices. Now, there is kind of a process to become eligible to participate in these programs, but they can certainly help you navigate those steps. So I guess the point being, if you need to do some conservation related practices on your property and financial resources are a limitation for you doing that, please certainly consider reaching out to the local NRCS office that serves your county and let them know what you're trying to do. And many times they'll be able to try to match you up with programs and assistance to address that. All right, so now I'm going to kind of divide these talks a little bit, the rest of the talk kind of into a homeowners and woodland owners kind of grouping. So if you're a homeowner, there may be certain people you want to talk to about certain issues. And if you're more of a woodland owner, there may be other groups that will do that. So for the purposes of this presentation, really what I'm thinking about homeowners is those folks that own less than 10 acres and they live on their property and it's their home site. So that's probably many that are attending here today. But we also probably have some that are also woodland owners, meaning that they own basically more than 10 acres of woodland. So that's just an arbitrary kind of number that I picked forward to kind of give a delineation of these different types of services. But it's not completely arbitrary because a number of the programs that are geared to support woodland owners in the state do have a 10-acre minimum. So that's kind of why I did pick it. All right, so let's talk a little bit about if you're a homeowner and you need some tree assistance. So perhaps you need to understand what tree you have, right? Tree identification is a common thing that we deal with all the time here at UK Forestry and Natural Resources Extension. That's certainly well within our wheelhouse. We have presentations and webinars and publications that can kind of walk you through that tree identification process. But we can also identify a tree if you send us a picture of it in most cases. Also, the Kentucky Division of Forestry can certainly provide that service. But as a go-to, what I would typically suggest is you start off with your local county extension office. And if those agents and that staff in that office are unaware of what that tree is, then they pass it on up to us and we can get an ID for you pretty quick, really. So if you get good images, it's pretty easy to do some tree identification. So what if you're interested in planting some trees and you want to do, and you're not sure which trees to get for your home and which would be best? Then extension can provide that. Certainly, our horticulture agents are going to be really well geared to help in that regard. But also, we can help here at the Department of Forestry and Natural Resources, making some general recommendations, and also in the horticulture department here at UK, they have a variety of publications and information related to tree selection, and it really comes down to picking the right tree for the site. You don't want to put in a big tree in a small site. It's just going to cause you problems much later. And then so arborists are another group that can certainly help advise on which trees, and they probably will have much more experience with kind of cultivars and other kind of improved varieties than maybe some of the folks at KDF or others might have, just because that's really not what we deal with in a larger scale. So if you're looking at trying to, which tree should I get for my property or which tree should I plant, then tree selection, thinking about extension, Arborist and KDF are probably going to be your go-to resources there. So suppose you have a sick tree, something's happened to it, like this one had a lightning strike here on it. Who can help me deal with that, Billy? So there are a couple entities on that. Again, I recommend starting with your local extension office, especially if we have horticulture agents in that county. They can probably offer some guidance and assistance on that. And, in a larger scale, if it's kind of a more widespread, if it's a disease and it's not necessarily a mechanical thing, but if it is a disease or something like that, then Dr. Ellen Crocker is our forest health specialist. She has expertise in that, and she can help offer guidance and advice on what to do that. And then certainly if you want somebody to actually physically come and do something to help you with that sick tree, maybe you need some emergency pruning or some other things to it, then arborists are going to be your best bet to deal with that. I do list Kentucky Division of Forestry here as well. They do have forest health specialists on staff, and they're available for consultation and stuff, but typically they're going to work on a little bit larger scale, but they can provide some assistance to you. But again, I would start with extension and let them kind of run it through the ropes. Again, if your local offices don't know what's going on or what to do with that, they will pass it on up to us. And if for some reason we're unaware, then we can connect with other experts that should be able to help you take care of it. And the next group, topic from a homeowner standpoint is tree maintenance. This may just be basic pruning and watering. Often we don't fertilize our trees here in Kentucky. It's typically not necessary, but there are some other maintenance issues such as pruning. So extension provides a variety of expertise and resources, again, publications and videos. They also, many of our county extension offices have pruning workshops where you can kind of come out and see pruning in action, and you can actually practice it yourself. So this we see this a lot, especially with kind of our fruit growers. They really need to be really good at pruning the trees. So extension does a real good job in that. And then certainly arborists, if you needed a tree pruned, extension is probably not the one to come out and actually do the physical pruning of your tree, but we can tell you how to do it, and we can kind of connect you to those resources, one of which would be arborists. So these arborists can come out and they do it for a fee. They are private business folks, but again, you're going to have the best assurance that they know what they're doing, and it's going to be done in the right way with the best health in mind for that tree in the long term. All right, so that's kind of the homeowner tree assistance issue. So I'll spend a few minutes on the woodland owner kind of forestry assistance. Certainly same with tree ID. This would be really extension and KDF. And what we're talking here is really, your whole woodlands. You got a whole bunch of woods out there, you're not sure what you've got. The Division of Forestry can certainly come out and develop management plans, and part of that would be an inventory of that property. Certainly extension can help with the identification of trees, just like we can with homeowners as well. When it comes to tree selection, typically in this setting, we're talking about planting more than just one tree. Often we'll be, maybe planting an entire field, or maybe we're trying to introduce a species that we want to have grow there that's not growing there. This will be a native species, not that some invasive one, but a native species that could be successful there that for whatever reasons we don't have there. Then extension can help make some advice on which trees would be there. Certainly our extension offices also provide soil testing. So understanding the soils is a really big part in tree selection. And also matching up what you want those trees to do. Are you interested in the trees for wildlife benefits? Are you interested in those trees from a timber standpoint? Are you looking for fall colors or some combination thereof? So tree selection would be based on the site, but it would also be based on the objectives that the person planting the trees had. So we would try to match up our recommendations to go with that. Consulting foresters is the other group that you would want to do. They would be able to provide that assistance and advice to you, as well as NRCS. And NRCS, while they may not have a bunch of foresters on staff, they work with foresters and others to provide technical assistance, but they can also help offset some of the costs related to tree selection, tree planting. From a sick tree standpoint, so perhaps like this ash tree that's dying here. If you're in central Kentucky, you know the emerald ash borer has devastated our ash trees and continues to do so. So extension, we have a lot of information on what you can do about that, when you can do it, and who can help you do that to try to address that issue. And certainly the Division of Forestry and consultant foresters can offer similar advice. So again, it may be easy to start with extension, and then if you need additional support from there, then we might move you on to KDF or to consultant foresters. And then general overall woodland management. You know, here in Kentucky, we have nearly 12.5 million acres of forest land, which is a whole lot. If you think about it, nearly half the state has trees on it. And these trees provide so many benefits, from its recreational opportunities to an economic impact of over $13 billion a year, with and a total employment. Over 50,000 people are tied to the forest industry here in Kentucky. So they're really important for a variety of reasons. But if you're interested in kind of caring for your woodland, and you want to try to make them as healthy and productive as possible, then woodland management would come through extension. We offer a lot of advice and guidance. Again, we have publications and videos and webinars and podcasts and all kinds of content related to that. KDF can come out and help develop plans and work with you there. So is consultant foresters. And again, NRCS can play an important role by helping provide some of the financial assistance to get that technical assistance applied to your property. And then if you're interested in timber sales, then we would be looking at consulting foresters, KDF, or the Kentucky Master Logger Program. These would be entities you would want to work with there. And then unfortunately, again, if you come in, all your trees are harvested and gone, then you're probably dealing with consulting foresters. They're going to be in the best position to try to help you navigate that situation. All right, so let's talk a little bit about wildlife assistance. And, you know, I would encourage you folks too, please, if you have questions, put them in the chat pod. I can't see the chat pod right now, but I'll get on that in just a moment. But if you've got questions, we'll try to address those as we go here in a minute. So the wildlife assistance. So perhaps you're interested in what critter is that I saw on my trail cam or in my backyard. We have Dr. Matt Springer, who is on our team, and Dr. Springer is our wildlife extension professor, and he can certainly provide identification support for that, as can the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resource folks as well. Likewise, if you're interested in managing for wildlife, whether it be wildlife that you want to hunt or wildlife that you want to view, such as birds or others, we can offer advice and guidance through extension, as well as Fish and Wildlife can do that. And again, NRCS can play a role in that as well. Now, another problem, hopefully you don't have this problem on your property. This is a wild boar that is causing a big old problem here. But if you do have some wildlife damage issues, Dr. Matt Springer has put together a wildlife damage section off of our website, off of ukforestry.org, that can help you deal with some of those challenges that are there. And again, Fish and Wildlife can help you as well. Perhaps you have nuisance wildlife that you need to get rid of. They have that resource. And again, Dr. Springer can help you. He's got some information on it as well. But if you're looking for a specific vendor to come and help you address those raccoons in your attic, then you can check out those links there, and they will provide that resource for you. All right. So I've covered a lot. And if you're still in doubt and you don't know where to go to get assistance for any of these kind of tree and wildlife related things, again, my general advice would be start with your local county extension office. You have local experts right in your own county. And if it's beyond what they know, then they know how to get a hold of others that can help us. And if you want, there's the links I've pointed to several times for UK Forestry and Natural Resources Extension. If you have any questions related to forestry, trees and wildlife of any kind, you can shoot us an email at forestry.extension@uky.edu, and one of us will respond depending on what you're asking about. And then again, check out our website at ukforestry.org. We have a variety of resources available that you may find of interest. So that's the end of my presentation there. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing with you, and I'm going to try to look in the chat pod, and I don't see any questions right now, but if you do have some questions, I would be more than happy to try to address those. Again, I thank you all for being with us today. I thank you for your interest in trees. I wish more people cared about trees as much as you all do, to take the time out of a beautiful Friday afternoon to be with me here today to talk about some of the forestry and wildlife assistance that's available to you. You know, one of the joys is working by the hospitals. We hear helicopters a lot, so if you heard that. All right, Maverick, what is my favorite tree and animal? So from a favorite tree standpoint, probably can't see it, but I got a wedding ring on here, and on that wedding ring I have white oak and yellow poplar leaves that go around it. So it's kind of a split tie. Yellow poplar is the state tree of Kentucky, and it's a beautiful tree. It's very abundant. And then white oak is just such a beautiful and important tree for a wide variety of interests. And then from an animal standpoint, probably some of the birds. You know, maybe the cedar waxwing. That's a beautiful bird as well. But you know, I've not got too many favorites in that regard. Okay, and then can you share that last slide with your contacts? I certainly can do that. Just one second. If you'll give me a second, I'll pull that back up. All righty, just 1 second, folks. Okay, stand by, sorry. Trying to get there for you. Okay. So, last slide. Sorry about that. Hope we're not making you seasick. Oh. All right, there's that last slide. So that's our contact information. You know, again, you know, your local county extension office, that link right there will show you your own your county and the folks in that. And then there's our email address. So if you've got questions, you know, again, if you're not really sure, you know, who you should ask after this presentation, please just shoot us an email and we'll get that. And again, check out our website. So hopefully that's good for you there. Let's see if I see any others in the chat. One thing when you're doing these presentations like this, sometimes it's hard to see the chat window when you're presenting. So I stopped that presentation there. All right, let's see. Gregory, you're welcome. Kenneth, thank you. I appreciate that. And Elena, what is your opinion on global warming and impact on trees? Well, big question. Global warming is real. It is happening, and it is a big impact on trees. And we're already seeing that around the world right now. Certainly the wildfires that we see in Western United States are being associated with some global warming issues there, and there's no doubt about that. The other evidence that we see about some of the impact on trees is through our forest inventory. So the United States Forest Service, in cooperation with the state forestry agencies, does a continuous forest inventory all across the United States. So we have individual inventory plots in each 6,000 acre kind of hexagons, if you will, that spread out across the United States. And the data from those over the years has shown us that the trees are moving. Right? They're moving, they're migrating. Our trees are migrating. So it's based on the number of trees that we're seeing in these different populations over time. And we're seeing where the centers of these populations of these tree species are advancing northward. So that's another kind of sign that things are changing and moving. I think here in Kentucky, we're blessed to be relatively buffered from a lot of the worst changes that we're going to see from global warming, for at least in the short term. Because of our position kind of in the middle of the country, we were kind of, you know, we've got the benefits of a wide diversity of tree species here in the state, over 100 different native tree species. So that diversity is a real strength, because if something happens to some trees, we still have others to draw upon. I think the biggest individual impacts that we're going to have here in Kentucky are probably going to be drought related, as well as kind of disturbances. So these could be more frequent ice storms or other types of events that are kind of very acute and cause a specific problem. So I hope that answered that question. If you have any other questions, please, I'd be happy to try to address those. Again, I appreciate you all having an interest in trees. They are so important. You know, when I started my career, or started in college, and one of the first classes I took here at the University of Kentucky was dendrology, and that was the study of trees. And if you got to sit in at the beginning of this week, Laurie Thomas did a presentation on tree identification. But once you start to understand and know the trees, I tell you, it's an infectious thing that you just want to learn more about. They're really amazing, and they do so much for us on a daily basis that it's just a real fun thing to kind of learn about. And, you know, and I really love my job trying to help people care for trees and take care of them. All right. Is there a specific state or certification licensings I should look for from arborists or tree cutters? Yeah, so what you would want to do is if you just type in find a certified arborist, that will take you to the International Society of Arboriculture. And that is the group that does the licensing or the certification of arborists. So if you're looking for somebody that is knowledgeable about tree care and has demonstrated that knowledge by passing the certified arborist exam, then you can have some confidence that they know what they're doing and they're going to do right by that tree. So we typically recommend that if you're going to do tree care and it's more than just a little bit, you probably want to be talking to a certified arborist. Again, these are professionals that have demonstrated that professionalism and have passed a minimum qualification. So I hope that helps, Kenneth. Any other questions you all have? Well, I'll give you just another moment or two to put questions in if you have any. Again, thank you all for being with us today. Certainly us here at the UK Department of Forestry and Natural Resources are excited to be part of Tree Week. And again, a big thanks to the Urban Forestry Initiative for kicking off this Tree Week. This is the third year that they've done it, and we've been involved in the past. Certainly our unit has, but this year we've had a complete week of offerings, and a big thanks to the Urban Forestry Initiative for all the great work that they're doing. And a big thanks to each of you all for being with us. Yes, so Kelly had a question, are these being recorded? Yes, we're at least recording our presentations. And as far as where they're going to be housed, I would just check back at the Urban Forestry Initiative website. I'm pretty sure they're going to be housing them there. So again, thank you all so much for being with us. Reach out to us, or better yet, get to know your local county extension offices. It's a great resource with a lot of great folks that are trying to help the people in their county have healthier and more productive landscape. So thank you all so much. And, you know, again, let us know if we can ever be of assistance to you. And hope you all have a great afternoon, and go trees. All right. Bye-bye.